All right, guys. So whilst we're still getting that sorted, 1E, paint the picture. We've taken Trent through his pre-screening form and obviously worked all that out. Because he's not a high-risk client, we've then taken him onto the gym floor and we've done some fitness testing with him. So the fitness test that we did with him, just you can see here, I'll start to the left-hand side here, a hip to waist ratio test. We did what we call a Queen's College step test. We did a blood pressure. We did skin folds. We did a 7-stage push-up test, sit-up test, sorry. We did a push-up test on his toes, and we did a sit and reach test. Now, a hip to waist ratio test, just to quickly go through, guys, we will do a lot more of this when we do our prac, but hip to waist ratio is a measurement around the client's hips and waist, and then we calculate a result from there. A Queen's College step test is where we have a client step up and down off a box for 3 minutes, and then we measure their heart rate after 3 minutes. Then we've got a blood pressure. Obviously, the majority of us have had a blood pressure test before. It's around our arm, test our blood pressure. Skin folds. So most of us have done skin folds. This is over 7 sites. So we pinch 7 sites. So those sites are our tricep, our bicep, what we call our iliac crest, which is our side of our hip, our stomach. Then we've got our quadriceps and our back, which is our subscap. So there are 7 sites that we would do for that. A 7-stage sit-up test is just like different stages of sit-ups and see how far they can go. Then we do push-ups on our toes, self-explanatory, and a sit and reach is where we have a box in front of us and we're seeing how far our client can go and testing hamstring flexibility. Now, the reason why we test hamstring flexibility is because in most people, our hamstrings will reflect the rest of our body. If we've got really tight hamstrings, it then kind of reflects that the rest of our body will be tight. Where if we've got really flexible hamstrings, then we assume that the rest of the body is flexible. So for general population, hamstrings are the biggest concern. So by stretching them, we can get a good gauge on the rest of our body. So when we did these results of Trent, these are the scores that he got. And now what we're going to look at now are how he kind of sits against benchmarking and what we can do, what type of training we can do to help him improve that if it needs to be improved. So for question 1, it just says, based on Trent's current fitness results, explain how it compares to standards in best practice. So firstly, if we just go, we'll have to skip back. So his hip to waist ratio was 0.95. So if we look at this table here, as a male, 0.95, where does that sit? Someone call it out.
Risk.
Pardon?
Average.
Yeah, average. So he's not above. He's right on 0.95. So he's right on the cusp of average and at risk. So we're going to go into our question, and where it's got that box, we're just going to put down that just put down hip to waist ratio to start off with and a dash, and then just put that Trent scored a 0.95, which is right on the cusp of average and at risk. That's how we're going to explain what his results are there. So Trent's hip to waist ratio was 0.95, which, compared to benchmark, it is, right on the cusp of average and at risk. All right, the second one we're going to look at is the Queen College step test. So his result was 127 beats per minute. So if we look at the table down here, where's, as a male, where does he sit?
Above
average. Nice work. So he sits here and he's above average because his heart rate was between 148 and 121. All right, so we're going to put down, again, in that same box, that in the Queen's College step test, Trent's result of 27, I think it was, 127, he's above average for a male. Okay, his blood pressure. So if we just go back, his blood pressure was 120/85. So we're just going to sit that here at normal. Normal blood pressure is 120/80. 85 is just off, but it's predominantly normal. So let's just leave it in normal. So for that next one, we're just going to say that Trent's blood pressure is currently normal, which is healthy, which is a good thing. Blood pressure is what we call the silent killer. People don't even know they have it and they have a heart attack. Even really healthy people can have high blood pressure. So just because you're healthy doesn't mean you have to get your blood pressure checked. All right, our next test is the skin folds test. So Trent's results in the skin folds test was 88 mils. And here, he's not an athlete. He's only a general population. So general population in between 81 and 90 mils is healthy. So he's in that healthy range, which is good. All right. Next test was the 7-stage sit-up test, and Trent scored a level 4. And what level 4 means, as you can see here, it's with his arms held across his chest. So bring his arm across his chest, and he's able to do a full sit-up. So his forearms meet his knees. So he can pretty much come all the way up through his forearms to touch his knees. So for him, as you can see there, that's a good score. So for Trent's 7-stage sit-up test, he was able to achieve a level 4, which is a good score. All right, the next one was the push-up test. If we go back to see his results in the push-up test, Trent was able to get 25 push-ups. So if you look at this table, as a male, and he's 29, so he's in this column here, he got 25 push-ups. So where does that leave him?
In his 40s, is it? 50,
So he's in his 20s?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's in this column here. He only got 25 push-ups. So is he excellent, good, average, below average, or poor?
Poor.
Yep, perfect. He's poor. So upper body rubbish. Trent's got a poor, rubbish upper body strength, upper body endurance. So make sure, guys, we give the result. So Josh, you got there make sure you put Trent scored 25 push-ups, which is a poor result. Sweet. Make sure we have in what his result was. All right, and the last one is sit and reach. So we just go quickly back again. His sit and reach was +5. So I know this table might look a little bit blurry, but he's a male in centimeters, +5. Where's he sit?
Average.
Average, good job. Nice. So his sit and reach is an average score, +5. All right, question 2. We're looking at how we're going to motivate our client in upcoming tests. So it's really important to frequently show our client that they're seeing results, and the best way to do that is by doing fitness testing. So we're going to look at how we can motivate Trent the next time we do fitness testing with him. Now, there's 2 ways we motivate people. We've got intrinsic motivation, which is motivation that comes within, and we've got extrinsic motivation. So that's motivation that is drawn upon from the external environment and other people around us. So we've got to pick 2 strategies and explain why we've chosen 2 strategies from each, either intrinsic and 2 strategies from extrinsic. So some examples of intrinsic motivation strategies could be setting some goals, some short-term goals for Trent to achieve. So we might say, all right, mate, the next time you do a sit and reach, our goal is for you to get, a -10. So for the next 4 weeks, Trent's doing a lot of stretching exercises so that the next time he does the test, he's motivating himself within to trying to beat his result from last time. So that's what we could do. Self-talk. So self-talk would be more for when you're doing like a really hard test, like a beep test, telling yourself whilst you're doing it, like the result that you want to get, and kind of saying that over your head over and over and over again whilst you're doing it. Motivating yourself whilst you're doing the test is a great way to intrinsically motivate yourself to do it. And the last one is visualization. Now, The reason why I put this one in there is just tell a little bit of a quick story. So one of my wife's best friends is the world champion for powerlifting for her age bracket, which is 53 kilos. Now, the way that she kind of plays her events is that she will visualize herself lifting the weight before she actually does it. And she spends like 15 minutes before she actually goes out on stage and does a heavy squat or a heavy deadlift or a heavy bench press, and just sits down and just visualizes her doing it over and over and over again, and then goes out and does it. So when you're doing stuff like, fitness testing, when it's strength, visualizing you doing it, you're tricking the mind to think that it's already been done. So then when you go out and do it, your body, because you've tricked the mind, the body just does it. So there are some strategies that you could put in play. And you could say why you would put those strategies in play for Trent. Now, external motivation. So that's motivation that we create from the environment or outside influences, so other people. Now, a really good way that we could externally motivate Trent next time we do the test is by doing the test with him, because everyone's got a natural instinct of want to be competitive and want to beat the other person. So if we're doing that test with him, he'll want to beat us and be better than us. So that will naturally motivate him to want to do better because we're doing it with him. Rewards and prizes, or prizes and rewards. So offer Trent a reward. It's crazy. F45, their biggest intake is 2 times a year when they do their 8-week challenge, and the reward is $10,000. That externally motivates people to go and get fit and healthy, not for themselves, but it's more to win the money. So it's an external motivation that gets people out and into F45 to do that. So that's an external motivation. Doesn't have to be $10,000. You could reward your client with a massage that you pay for them, some free sessions. It could be anything. So rewards are a great way to externally motivate it. So why would you choose that for Trent if you did do that one? And last one is encouragement and positive talk from others. So, again, that could be encouragement and positive talk from you. That could be, if Trent had a family, get their family to come down and support them whilst they're doing the fitness testing again. Just that support and that encouragement from your family will make you want to push a little bit harder. But that's how you could externally motivate Trent. There's some ideas there. So for this question, guys, it says list and explain. So you can't just put it down. You've got to explain, what the strategy is, how you would use it, and why you think it's going to be beneficial for Trent. And we need 2 in the first box, guys, and 2 in the second. So number 1 is for our intrinsic motivation strategies, and number 2 is for our extrinsic motivational strategies. We need 2 for each.
What was the examples of the extrinsic one?
So doing the test with them. Yeah. So that means if you're doing next time you do a test with them, you might do a beep test. Actually run the beep test with them, because they're going to want to kind of beat you, and you doing it with them is just going to push them to work harder. Is a great way to extrinsically motivate them. Prizes and rewards, as I said, say, all right, man, if you beat every test from last time, I'm going to give you this voucher that's worth $100 to go get a free massage. That could be a way that you motivate someone to want to improve. And then just encouragement. So you just stand on the sidelines, giving encouragement and positive talk is going to help them get there. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And remember too, guys, these are just some examples. If you want to put your own examples in, you might have some strategies that you've done before or that you do for yourself that work for you. Please be more than open to use your own strategies. These are just some examples that we've put down. There are 100,000 different more. So you just go what you would work best for you. But by all means that you can use these ones. You don't have to think of other ones. If you just want to use these ones, you can too.
Would group training be an external motivation or no?
Pardon?
Do you think group training?
Yeah, 100%. Doing it with the definitely. It's the same kind of concept. If you doing it with him, if you're doing it in a group, then definitely he's going to be more motivated to want to do better, because it's he's competing against a whole group of people.
Yeah.
All right, we'll spend 1 more minute on this one. Make sure you got 2 for each. And we'll move on to the next question. All right, next question, guys. So next question, we're looking at signs of exercise intolerance and explain the appropriate course of action if our clients were to portray these signs and symptoms. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about, doing group training or working with a personal trainer or going to a gym is that people think that it's our job as fitness instructors or fitness professionals to push them to breaking point, push them to vomit. But really, that's the one thing that you want to stay away from. We're meant to be trying to make exercise fun and enjoyable for our clients, and by making them feel like they want to vomit or making them feel dizzy or making them feel like they've got a headache and don't want to be there is not going to make it enjoyable, and it means they're not going to come back and they want to continue exercising with you. So if we see any of these signs, we need to identify them early, and we need to put things into place to make sure that they either quickly go away or we just stop exercise altogether until they do go away. So we're going to think of 3 signs. Here are the main signs that we see when people are really struggling with exercise. So they feel dizzy or lightheaded. They get an injury. They go really pale in the face. They overheat, and that's, they go either really red in the face when they're overheating. They're really fatigued. I mean, you'll see people, they yawn a lot in training if they're really fatigued. They start getting headaches. That's probably more to do with dehydration than anything. But obviously the number one thing that if someone is really struggling is vomiting, and it's not nice to vomit when exercising, and it's something that we want to avoid. I once had a client who vomited in the middle of the gym, didn't even try to run to a bin or something. He just stood there and just vomited everywhere. So, we're trying to avoid these things, guys. And it's important that we're not pushing our clients to breaking point, because that's just, something that it's just not good practice. We want to stay away from. So if these signs start presenting themselves, the first thing that we need to do is just communicate with the client, ask them how they're feeling, make sure they're feeling okay. Most people are going to say they are okay. But that's the first step to make sure that we're communicating with them, saying, you're starting to look a little bit pale in the face. Are you okay? Majority of the time though, we're going to have to take it out of the client's hands and into our own hands. So things that we can do, we don't want to make the client feel like that they're not doing a good job, or that that they can't achieve what we want them to achieve. So we want to do it in subtle ways. So the first thing that we can do is we can modify the program to either decrease the intensity or make the exercise a little bit easier. So, a really good example with this is that you might be doing some like efforts on a row machine, for example. All right. And we might be saying to the client, all right, we want to keep the level under, let's say like 158 or something like that. So we might say, all right, for this next one, it's our recovery row, and we're going to have it at like 240. So the client doesn't know that we just want them to take a break. They think that, I've got a recovery round. So that they're unaware that we're putting these measures into place just so that they're not getting to these signs of vomiting and overtraining. Or we can change the exercise. So let's take an example. If we're doing, let's say, a set of bench press, for example, we might say, all right, next set, we're actually going to do push-ups. We're not going to do bench press anymore. We're going to move to push-ups. Now the client just thinks it's a part of the program, but what we're trying to do is make that exercise a little bit easier for them, because they're starting to see signs of overtraining. So that's how we can modify the program intensity or the exercise. Third thing there is we can increase the rest. So we can tell the client, all right, initially we're going to have, like a 30-second rest in between exercises. And now, we're going to increase that to a minute. The beauty of it is that, people are so unaware of when they're training, and you normally, they're kind of responsible for the rest period. You don't even have to tell them that you've increased the rest. You just say, all right, we've got 30 seconds rest. but you look at your watch and you just give them a minute rest. They don't know that it's been a minute. They think that's 30 seconds. So increasing rest periods is a really great subtle way to help the client recover and not see these signs. Last thing though, guys, is that if you are seeing these things and you have taken a little bit too far, we just stop what we're doing immediately. So if the client goes, oh, I'm feeling really sick and something, I feel like I'm going to vomit, just stop straight away. We're going to lay them on their back, on the ground, because we call that our recovery position. It's not recovery for first aid where it's on our side. Laying our client on our back is what happens is we do what we call pooling our blood. So that means that our heart doesn't have to work as hard anymore, because laying on our back, it just pulls out, just levels out across our body. And we're going to get them to control their breathing. And then we're going to get them, once they've controlled their breathing, we're going to give them either a sugary drink to drink or some cold water. The reason why we feel most of these signs and symptoms is because what happens with our heart, when we're working really, really hard, our body starts kind of our brain starts telling our body, all right, we need more blood to our legs or more blood to our arms, because they're the muscles that are working really hard. And it forgets to send blood to the head. And the reason why that's bad is when you don't send blood to the head, then our body doesn't function. So by feeling dizzy and passing out, it's a way for our body to get us on the ground. So again, we can pull out so that then we can get blood to the head. Vomiting, you can't vomit and run at the same time. You actually have to stop and vomit. So again, it's our body trying to make us stop whatever we're doing to vomit, so that then we're recovering, so that it's all about trying to get blood circulating through the brain again, because there's not enough blood going through the brain because it's going everywhere else. Again, that's why we get headaches. That's why we start feeling fatigued. That's why we go pale in the face, because all the blood goes away from our face and we go white. So it's all got to do with that. So by having our client lay on their back, is the best position for us to recover and to help that client not feel sick anymore. And that's what we do. All right. So with this question, pick 3 signs and symptoms, and then tell me what we have to do. If these signs and symptoms start presenting, it's pretty much spelt out to you in that slide. So you just got to put it down in your own words. Let's go. All right, guys, 1 more minute on this one, and then we'll move on to the last question in this workshop. All right, and our last question we're looking at, guys, is after completing the fitness appraisal with Trent, you've asked him to complete a feedback questionnaire. In Trent's feedback, he highlighted that completing 7 tests in 1 session was time consuming. Sorry, my phone going off. Was time consuming, and it also was physically demanding on him. So the question's asking now that we've got to outline a number of methods that we could adopt in order to enhance the service delivery in future sessions when we're doing fitness appraisals with Trent. So again, guys, a number of things that we can do. I've put some down here, but if you've got your own ideas, then they're more than happy for you to put them down. We want to do have three ways that we could enhance the session. So obviously, number 1 there was we could break the testing over 2 days. Like, that's pretty self-explanatory. By breaking up over 2 days means that he's not doing as much, and it's not going to be as long. Having the client complete the test within a group environment will be a really great way to keep him motivated and make him feel like it's not going for so long, because it's in a big group, and a bit of social interaction is a great way to get through some testing. After every test, we can show the client how much they've improved. People love seeing results. So by showing them at the end of the test, look how much you've improved on this one, will make them want to do the next one and want to see how much they've improved on the next one, and then make them want to see the next one and the next one and the next one. So after every test he does, don't wait to the end of the session. Show him how much he's improved after each one is a great way, to enhance the service next time. And the last thing we can do, guys, is we could cut out some tests. So, the ones that he did well at and the ones that don't move and change very regularly, we could cut out. Now, which ones are those? For me, straight away would be like the blood pressure, because he's got a healthy blood pressure at 120 over 85, and your blood pressure isn't going to change that much over 4 weeks anyway. So you normally get your blood pressure checked every 12 months. So if you're going to test a client every 4 weeks, by retesting their blood pressure every month isn't really going to make a difference. So you could cut out some tests. So we know that he's good there. We know that he was really good in his step test, his Queen's College step test. We might not do that test because we know he got a really good score. We might only do the test that he needs to improve on, like his push-up test, like his sit and reach test, like his hip to waist ratio test. They're probably the main ones that we would focus on. So cutting it down from doing 7 tests to 3 would obviously then enhance it, because we're not spending that much time on doing tests that aren't really going to change anyway. All right, so this is our last question we're going to look at today, guys. We are going to do one more thing, which is go through a pre-screening form, but let's get this answer out. You got to pick 3 strategies that you would implement, and why you've chosen those strategies to enhance the program next time due to Trent's feedback. All right, so once you finish and you're happy with all your answers, again, guys, we're just going to turn that in. And then to finish off today's session, I'm just going to walk you through a pre-screening form, and then we'll be done for the day, guys. So that'll probably take us about 10 minutes, and we should be finished up quite soon. Again, I'll just share my screen, guys. I'll run through this with you, and then we'll take it from there. So here's a form, guys. So the form starts off with what we call acknowledgement of risk. So it just says in here that, you're doing this a part of a course, and that, if you were doing this in real life, it just talks about how there's risk involved with exercise, and that the client is taking responsibility for that risk. So it's really important that you do get your clients to sign acknowledgement of consent or acknowledgement of risk form before they start exercising, because we want them to take the risk and know that there's risk of exercise. And again, it's just a way to kind of help us and kind of shelter us from any obligations and any risks that might be associated if a client wants to, worst case scenario, want to sue us. So that's what we sign there. After that, guys, we move into and again, you see this in all forms, it's just a client personal information form, and we're just asking our client a bunch of questions here, and we're filling it out as we go. Then we go into that exercise risk assessment. So here's those 7 questions that we ask, and we're either ticking yes or no to those questions. We're asking our client these questions here about their age, if they've got family history of heart disease, if they're a smoker, how much exercise they do, their BMI, and these questions here about blood pressure, cholesterol, and high sugar levels. And then using the key here to give a score. So if a client scored 0, you just put a 0 in this box here. If they were a +1, you can put a +1 in here, and that's what that box is for. So you just go through it and you score your client. It's really important not to leave the box blank. You either put a 0 in it or you put a number in it. Don't just leave it blank. So it's really important when you're doing when you're filling out this one. All right, then after we obviously look at what the overall risk score is, and like we can see here in the key, if it's like below 2, it's a low risk. 2 or above, a moderate risk. Anything above 5 is a high risk client. Then we're going to come into some nutritional questionnaire. So we're going to ask our client a bunch of questions, fill it out to our right, pretty self-explanatory. When we come into nutritional screening, we're going to ask our client what they ate the day before. So if I was doing this on Anna now, I would say, Anna, what did you have yesterday? I'd put in yesterday's date. I'd put in yesterday's day, which was Sunday. I'd ask her how many hours she slept from Saturday night to Sunday morning. And then I would ask her what she had for meal 1, what mood she was in. Was she tired, hungry, angry, frustrated, happy? And then what she ate. More detail in here, guys, that's the better. So don't just put, I had toast. What type of toast was it? What type of bread was it? Sorry. What do they have on their toast? So it's really important to fill this out as well as you can. Then looking at how much water the client drank, if the client did any exercise, whether that was weights or cardio, if they had any alcohol, how much alcohol they had, and then any notes. The reason why we've got daily notes here is because if a client, had cake, but they normally don't eat cake, in daily notes, you could put down that the client had a birthday party and that's why they had cake. If the client's, that's not a part of their normal eating routine, it's really important to note that down because you don't want that to be against the client when we go through, nutritional screening at a later date. So really important to do that. We're then going to go into what we call a needs analysis. Any questions so far? We good? All good. All right. Then we go into a needs analysis. So we ask our client, what day they want to train. And then when you're doing this, guys, because this is on the computer and you're not going to print it out, one or two things. You can kind of like put your cursor on, say, Tuesday, come up here to this little paint thing where it says like background color, and you can color the background to say they can do Tuesday. So that's one way that you can do it. The other way is that you can just delete all the other ones. So if they can't do Monday, you just delete it. If they can't do Wednesday, or Tuesday, if they can only do, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you could just leave it like that. So whatever way you want to do it, guys, it's up to you. Just make sure it's clear what they've chosen. Available times, whether it's morning or afternoon, and why those days and those times best suit the client. After that, we go through exercise history. So when we talk about exercise history, we go back as far as a client can go back, where it's consistent exercise. So, if the client's, going for a walk every now and then, that's not exercise history. It's where the client's, doing exercise regularly over, a period of time. So I normally go back 5 years with an older client. So the client's kind of, in their mid 50s, I would say, okay, let's go back 5 years when you're like 45 to now, how much exercise have you been doing? And then I would jot that down. But then I'd also look at exercise history when they were younger. So what type of exercise were you doing when you were younger? What type of sport you played? Because again, if you can identify that, you can kind of, use that to create programs to adopt what they used to do when they were younger. So that's what we put in here for exercise history. You can put as much detail in there as possible. After that, guys, we've got likes about exercise and dislikes about exercise. Now, this table here and this table here are the exact same table. So when we're filling this out with our client, it's either they like it or they don't like it. There's nothing in between. So, if I was doing this, I'm like, Tyler, do you want running in your program or do you not want running in your program? Now, if you say, I want running, then I'm going to put that as a like. If you don't want running, I'm going to put that as a dislike. So if you like it, again, come up here and color it in. Yeah. And then, you can delete it from there if you wanted to say that you don't like that you dislike it or whatever you want to do, guys, as long as it's clear. But it's either put in the top box or the bottom box. You can't have them. You can't say they like running and dislike running. It's either they like or dislike it. Now, the reason why this is really important is because once we identify what they like, this is what our program is going to be based around, what they like about training. All right. So that's why we want to get that, because we want this to be enjoyable for clients. So if our client tells us she hates running and we give them running, well, they're not going to enjoy it. So we want to kind of make sure that we're doing exercise that they enjoy. So that's why we're going to stick to what they like, and that's just for the initial stages. Once the client, gets into training, then you can kind of throw whatever you want at them. But for those initial 4 weeks, we would probably stick to what they like about training and kind of stay clear of what they don't like. All right, from there, guys, we're going to do some goal setting with our client. Now, for these scenarios, because we're going to do it with 3 clients, remember, we have to get 3 goals from each client. In a normal, an everyday life, but a client might not have 3 goals, but for this scenario and for these scenarios with this case study, we need them to have 3 goals. So if they don't have a goal, just make it up. So you've got, whatever the client's goal is goes in his first box. Underlining motive is why they want to achieve that goal. So what drives them to want to achieve that goal? So for example, it might be, I want to lose 10 kilos. Underlying motive is I've got my wedding in 4 weeks' time. How would that make you feel? It's really important that we understand, the emotional impact of achieving goals for our clients. So how will that make you feel? Oh, I'll make me feel beautiful on my wedding day, or whatever you want to say there. Okay. So for each goal, you need to know what the goal is, why they want to achieve it, which is our underlying motive, and how would it make the client feel. So we do that for 3 goals. Then we look at motivation. How motivated is a client to achieve those goals out of 10? Obviously, we pick the box that they choose. Who/what motivates you to achieve your goals? What we mean by that is, for me, who motivates me is my family. Yeah, I've got 3 young kids. So if I want to stay fit and healthy for them, what motivates me to stay fit and healthy is the fact that I had kids that when I was young, and I still want to be able to do things that I want to do that I've missed out on because I had kids when I'm older. So stuff like, I love like surfing. So I want to stay fit and healthy so that when my kids get older and I can surf more, I can still go out and surf, So that's what motivates me to stay fit and healthy and achieve my fitness goals. But who motivates me is my family. So that's the difference between who and what. So you kind of find that out from your client. And then these some simple questions. Have you set fitness goals before? Yes or no? Did you achieve those goals? Yes or no? If they did achieve them, how did they achieve them? If they didn't achieve them, why didn't they? Now, the reason why we're asking these questions is that there's no point reinventing the wheel. If our client, wants to lose weight, they've set weight loss goals before and achieved them. Find out how they did it, and then we help them do that again. And that's what we're trying to achieve. Now, if a client has set weight loss goals before, but they didn't achieve them, we find out why they didn't achieve them, and we make sure they don't make the same mistakes again. So, it's simple, guys. A lot of these questions, we're mentoring our clients through this. A lot of the answers to their questions they already have, and we're just going to put it on a page for them, and then we're going to support them through it. So it's not us telling them how to achieve goals. We're finding out how they've done it in the past or what they did wrong in the past, and then helping them, obviously work around those things to make sure they achieve the goals this time. From there, guys, the second last thing is barriers to exercise. So there's all these, barriers here. We ask our client if these are barriers. Yeah, and if they say yes, then we fill out why. So, for me, lack of time potentially could be a barrier. And the reason why might be because I have, a young family, I run my own business, and I live in Wollongong, but my office is in Sydney. So I travel a lot. So, finding time to exercise is hard. So you might just put that down as a reason why. So that's what you'd put down there. And if it's not a barrier, you just leave it blank. And then the last thing is injuries. So does the client have any injuries? Obviously, we just identify where those injuries are, put some notes down, and then we get our client to put their name and signature. Now, obviously, we can't do signatures on here, so you just get them to just put their initials. So just put, for me, I'll just put L.K. Yeah, that's good enough for a signature. So that's a pre-screening form. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions on that? Everyone will be confident next week to do that on three people. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Sweet. All right. Well, that's it, guys. We're all done for the day. So great stuff. You're all doing really well. We're kind of sticking on track, which is great. If you can make it to a Wednesday or Thursday class, please put your name down and jump in. If not, whatever work you miss on Wednesday or Thursday, I'll put up the recording on Google Classroom so you can make sure you get that work done before next week.